Let's talk about some of the trends happening there. And let's talk about London. And let's talk about how quickly London has emerged as a major fashion capital. The UK fashion industry is, and the creative sector in the UK is an incredibly vibrant and massive contribution to the GDP. 6.6 billion to the economy, 25,000 employed. So UK has emerged as a massive global fashion retailer. So much that having a slide like that, say 5-10 years ago, would be laughable. But now it's actually serious. The high quality and the design influence of British fashion is making massive changes. We can see from color palettes to clothing styles, seasonal ranges are all connected from designers to retailers. There is synergy between designers and retailers in a big way. There's a lot of cooperation. And this is making London to basically be positioned as a synergized sector, not fashion in isolation as pure creative, but actual real business. And in certain cases, in innovation education, London has even surpassed Milan. UK retailers are not afraid to play with innovation. And we have a number of case studies to basically talk about how some of our clients are using innovation to bridge the gap between physical and digital. So this is quite an important aspect in terms of multi-channel, in terms of UK dominance. Internationalization is a massive trend right now, obviously due to the economy, but huge internationalization efforts. And that has helped in a big way to enhance the branding of Britain abroad and then attracting tourism. The education aspect is quite an important component in what London has achieved today. Not only in terms of the courses and the depth, but also in terms of how the industry is coming together. So these courses and these educations, there's a lot of synergy between actual businesses. So young fashion designers are encouraged at an early stage to think commercial, to think business. And that has helped massively in London achieving what it has. Example here, case study. I was pleasantly surprised last year in a visit in Hanoi to discover London College of Fashion Studies in Hanoi, in Vietnam. So not only in the UK itself, but also the influence is traveling abroad. To summarize what's actually happening in the English fashion, obviously lots of manufacturing has gone to China due to the rising cost. Many of them are coming back for two reasons. A, obviously the cost is rising, but also shopping trends has changed. For Chinese consumers to buy a Prada or a Zegna and to find made in China, some of them are not happy about that. So that's one of the reasons why it's coming back. The rise of international shopping, the ASOS of this world, the Net-a-Porter, has basically made a huge impact. And one of the reasons for that is the limited offer locally. Because lots of people are afraid to go and take the plunge basically into e-commerce. And that is giving way to foreign internet shopping. Fashion, as I mentioned, it might be late from an e-commerce perspective, but making massive waves from both the social and the mobile. So some evidence, if you look at ASOS, launched 2000, and in 2013, revenue is 754 million. So from nothing to 13 years to achieve that. But also 2007 for Karen Millen, 5% only international, and today accounts for 2/3. So huge focus basically in terms of multi-channel and international. If we look at Asia, and obviously Asia is huge, so I'm talking more Southeast Asia and China. These are the two markets we are more familiar with. There are lots of factors that are going against fashion in this part of the world. First, there is a lot of property development influence that has basically made it sometimes difficult. So in many cases we see this almost a landlord mentality rather than a trader mentality, evidence in various countries here. And this is very clear in department stores. Department stores in Southeast Asia might be 60%, 70% concessions, but in China it's 100%. Now, when you have 100% concession, this means all the activities from marketing to merchandise to supply chain to customer service, all of these activities are pushed, delegated to the brands. This means you're more of a landlord than a retailer. In a kind of bricks and mortar, you might be able to get away with it because the brands obviously are taking care of things for you. But in multi-channel, this is a problem. So to many department stores who went online, went on multi-channel, this was a challenge they're facing because suddenly they found themselves they need to learn a lot of skills, specifically trading skills. Also, there are certain things you don't notice when you go to a physical bricks and mortar department store. If I walk into a department store and I go through all the aisles and I visit all the brands, if I come out of the store, I wouldn't be able to have a view whether there was a good mix, whether there's a good balance in the department store. Very hard. On the internet, very easy. You just need to do a few searches and immediately you'll realize whether this is a balanced merchandise mix or it's not. So online and multi-channel does expose some of the issues that might not be visible in a bricks and mortar. Some of the licensing systems might be complicated, and in terms of some commercial constraints that prevent distributors to basically go online. Lack of customer insight is a biggie. In many cases, when we talk to brands and retailers and we start to talk about show us your target segments, they show us demographics at best. Some cases, they can't even show us that. No database for customers is something that we come across quite often. And if you don't have a database for customers and you don't have that kind of insight and segmentation, then you don't know your customers. And if you don't know your customers, how can you sell more to them? So that's a challenge. However, despite all of this, some really great stories are emerging. In Singapore, Charles & Keith is obviously making great waves. Raoul is visible internationally. In China, some really interesting brands. Broadcast is an interesting brand, JNBY and Exception. So, there are, despite the difficulties, you can see things are changing, things are happening. From an e-commerce perspective, everyone talked about price sensitivity yesterday, and yes, that is reality. But there will always be a segment interested in price, and you can't change that. The challenge is, how do you create other drivers other than price? And you can, because customers are not only about price. There are new segments emerging, Southeast Asia, in China, segments that don't only care about price, but they care about convenience, they care about lifestyle. They care about having more of an intimate relationship with the brands, with the heritage, and that's the challenge. That's what basically is needed. But if you don't have customer insight and you don't have clarity in terms of how you merchandise, if you have that part missing, and you don't have a clear P&L to drive the business, is it a wonder that you can't make money? E-business is business. If you don't go through the normal fundamental steps in setting this up as a business, then of course it won't succeed. And that's what's happening in China. 80% of traffic goes through Tmall because no one actually is going through the steps of following these steps to create the building blocks. But this is changing. We can see things are gradually changing. Lots of marketplace offerings such as Zalora, Rakuten, and of course in China, Tmall. But there are exciting things also happening. There is much more confidence now about Asian-inspired brands. a lot of sophistication, as I said, from consumers' perspective. E-commerce definitely is expanding. When we first set up a business in Southeast Asia, in KL, 2007, and we're talking about multi-channel, people thought we're in the TV business. The multi-channel to them was just completely alien expression. Lots of social commerce on the rise, very strong mobile penetration, and any offering that doesn't take these two into account in Asia obviously is missing a trick. But the exciting thing is change is happening at all levels of those stakeholders that we mentioned.